Good evening, everyone, and welcome to a regularly scheduled meeting of the Penfield Zoning Board of Appeals. As always, our meeting tonight was going to take place in two parts. The first part will be the public hearing portion of the meeting. We will call the matters one at a time. When your matter is called, if you're the applicant, please come up, give us your name and address, and tell us the reasons why you believe your application should be granted. After the board questions each applicant, we will open the floor up to members of the audience who wish to speak on a matter. I'd ask each person who comes up to speak to give their name and address first prior to speaking, and we'll proceed like that through all four matters that we have this evening. At that point, we'll take a short recess, and we'll meet in the back, that is the board, to discuss each matter one at a time. You're welcome to stay and observe those discussions, but they are generally reserved for members of the board and counsel to the board. Generally, unless we have a question, you're mainly allowed to listen and not speak. As always, our chairman always makes it known that it's the town's policy to notify members of the public in the general vicinity of an application so they have an opportunity to come here and be heard. The town also advises people in a number of other ways, such as posting on the bulletin board and on the town's website. So with that, I would ask everybody to stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands,
one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Application number 1. Richard Stevens, 2391 Penfield Road, Penfield, New York, 14526, requests an area variance from Article 3-3-37-A of the Code to allow the construction of a front stoop with less setback at 2391 Penfield Road. The property is owned by Richard and Deborah Stevens and is zoned RR-1. This is application number 140.02-1-61. This is application number 13Z-0028. Your wife is not coming up?
Oh, she's right here.
Might as well come up.
Richard Stevens, 2391 Penfield Road. And would you like me to sort of go through why we seek this?
Yes, please.
Okay. When we bought this house a little over a year ago, the front stoop is made of brick and it's rotting. It was falling apart, basically. It's crumbling. And we've discovered some rot behind it that the previous homeowner hidden from us very selectively placing sand to look like concrete. But anyways, it's rotting behind it. And we can't get to fix the rot until we remove this brick structure that you guys have photographs of. So what we want to do is knock this brick structure down, fix the rot that's behind it, and then build a slightly larger wooden porch behind it. And I have a diagram, sort of a top-down diagram that has the dimensions. The current porch, if you can call it that, the stoop is 59 inches by 34 inches. That's 5 foot 11 inches wide by 2 foot 10 inches. Well, I guess it's 5.
Yeah.
Okay. But anyways, and the new one will be 4 foot 11, oh, I'm sorry, by 2 feet 10 inches. And the new one is going to be 10 feet by 5 feet. And the current one is so small you can hardly open the front door without, in fact, our son fell off it one time when he was holding the front door open for us. But it's...
And you have the what do you call it, the survey, and you can see it has a little walkway on there. The new porch will not come past that at all. It'll still sit behind that.
And it's an old house. I mean, the whole problem is it sits too close to Penfield Road. It was built in 1949, and so we're within 50 feet of the right-of-way, just because the house was built before that was part of town code.
Okay, what will the new structure be built of?
Treated lumber.
And will it be painted to match the house, or?
I envision it just being wood. We kind of like the wood appearance.
Okay. And will that match your house? Is your house vinyl or is your house?
It's got vinyl siding, yellow vinyl siding. Yeah, I'm sure you can probably see part of it in the photographs.
And will this structure be covered in any way?
No. But I was-
And
Oh, I'm sorry.
explain to us what it will look like.
We have,
Yeah, we have a frontal view too. So it's just going to be a small wooden deck with railing and 2 steps.
There will be 2 steps?
Two
Okay.
steps.
yeah, you have one that's, when my dad rechecked the measurements, we're half an inch short to only have 1 step, so it's got to be 2. So that's an updated drawing right there.
Okay. And will this be lit at all?
We have 2 lights already, one on either side. So yeah, one on either side of the front door. Yeah, so there's
But there'll be nothing additional?
nothing additional, no.
Okay. Okay, so the home is now 36.3 feet from the right-of-way?
I guess
Okay.
that sounds right.
Probably.
Okay, and this is going to be 6 by 6
The new one is going to be 5 by 10
by 5 by 10?
with the 2 steps coming out.
No, that's the deck.
The deck is 5 by 10, right, with
Right.
2 steps.
Oh, yeah,
adding
additionally.
additional
Yeah, okay. So anyway, you're asking for a 19.7-foot variance, right?
Is
With you
that's
guys
the-
looking at me, I can't do math in my head, I'm sorry.
Well,
yeah.
the staff will figure it out if
Thank you.
we're off.
Right about that point, yeah.
Okay, I think that's all I have, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
We also, I don't know if you need them, we did get the environmental permits too.
Yeah, we're on a wetland, so we called the DEC and we have a permit if you want to see it. We have a number.
Yeah, I would like copies of
Yeah,
that.
okay.
Is this your only copy?
No,
There's-
Okay, great. Beautiful.
So, hold on, hang on. So the sidewalk's going to remain where it is?
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the stairs are going to sort of butt up against it, or?
Like she said, yeah, you can see it in the surveyor's map, that how kind of the sidewalk turns around, but it's not gonna, even with the 2 steps, it's still not going to go past the sidewalk.
That
It's going to
little
just
walkway.
drop right down to where the previously existing sidewalk is. So, right, we're not gonna do any new sidewalk at all.
Else have questions on the board?
Yeah. You said your house was 36.3 foot back from the road.
I
It's
think according to the
49 feet
surveyor-
from the road. I don't know what
It's
it
the
is
right
from
of
the
way.
right of way.
The right of way. Well, that's what we're dealing with. I'm sorry.
Right.
When
Yeah.
you said the road, but the right of way of the road. Okay, and then you're gonna put a 5-foot porch on and 2 steps at 9 inches each, right? Because there's 2
Correct.
steps and you're saying they're 9 inches. So that's 36.3 and we're talking 6.5. So that's 29.7. Okay, you hit it right on the nose. Well, I'm just trying to be careful, because if we grant a variance and you're 3-4 inches off, when you go to sell house, that's when you're gonna have the problem.
Understood.
Okay?
yeah.
So, all right, you're in good shape. Thank you.
Thank you.
I just want to verify my numbers.
Anybody else on the board? Any member of the audience want to speak on this application? Okay, thank you. Earl, next.
Application number 2, Kevin Masters, 1051 Whalen Road, Penfield, New York, 14526, requests a conditional use permit under Article 10-10-4 and Article 3-3-36-I of the code to allow a private athletic field for the Brooklyn Jean Wiffle Ball League at 1051 Whalen Road. The property is owned by Mindy Masters and is zoned R-1-20. This is SBL number 124.16-1-45. This is application number 13Z-0031.
Good evening. My name is Kevin Masters, 1051 Whalen Road, Penfield. My wife Mindy's also here, but I'm the applicant. She's out there with the unruly 2-year-old. Basically, I make an application to continue to use the yard in the back recreationally, privately. I got the notice that it was my intention to operate a wiffle ball league, which isn't really in the sense of a league where you have organized teams and league fees or anything, competition. It's just a bunch of friends, just all by invitation, to come over for a barbecue and play wiffle ball, like basically what you would do if you have like lawn games or lawn events. But I have to say that I modified the backyard to look like basically a ballpark you would visit, you know. I have signs, plywood signs painted. I put like a windscreen above the left field fence, orientated if you're at home plate, which would be the east side of the property. So that's basically it, just to have, you know, continue to be allowed to do that. I understand traffic may have been an issue because there was an event on June 19th where Scott Heads Cove did his backyard barbecue. They picked the backyard to come over, televise live and feed, you know, your friends and family. That was a rush hour on a Wednesday, which caused, you know, havoc, you know, traffic and parking and people walking back and forth. So I can see traffic being a concern, but otherwise, you know, that's, you know, not the norm. You know, it's been less frequent. We've been doing this for 3 years. This year has been less frequently than we ever played before. We don't play past dark. We have, you know, in the past, but we're basically respectful of the ordinances of the town, you know, in every respect we can. So that's basically just the application that I'm making.
Okay, so you've had this, we'll use the term diamond set up in the backyard.
Yes, it's been kind of improved. It seems, I wouldn't use the word obsession, but each year it's been increasingly. Last year, I kind of, you cut turf out in the shape of a diamond and just filled topsoil from the yard, basically, till it looks like, you know, so it's a diamond shape.
Having been out there, am I correct that the inside of this field is not visible from the road?
No, I have pictures. I did my best to, you know, show what you would see if you're, you know, coming from the east, coming from the west, directly in front of the house from the top of the driveway. It doesn't, like, the field of vision, you know, wouldn't disrupt traffic if you're driving by. Pedestrians don't give it a second look, or they jog. There's a lot of jogging activity. The ironic thing is, after the sign came up, there's more curiosity now. You know, people are looking around, sort of, kind of trying to understand. And now, you know, actually some neighborhood kids came over, say, could we see a wiffle ball field? And for 3 years, it was a, you know, secret. Even though we do have the media, the social media presence, Facebook, we have posted for our friends. You know, like my friend will come up, hey, you want to try to play on the weekend, and invite everyone over? I'm like, sure. So we'll post up, yeah, you guys want to come over on mostly it's a Saturday, on occasion Sunday. We used to do it like on a weeknight, but that's been winding down. You know, people are busy. Like I said, if they want to come over, have a barbecue and play, that's fine. But it's not like a league we're competing with anybody, you know, with ourselves. There's no money. There's just not really organized, because it's not my nature to be organized.
You don't have a schedule?
No, there's no schedule.
Do you have set teams?
No, we just, what I do is, like, who wants to play with who? I put it on a whiteout board, all right, you play with him. You know, we just mix it up for fun.
How many friends, you know, this is by invitation only?
It's in big,
How big is the pool of
there is a
potential
pool. I'd say
invitees?
most people that came over was for that backyard barbecue, and it had to be over 25 people. But there has been probably 30 or 40 people that's played wiffle ball, but all just, you know, never at the same time. It is a pretty large pool that people have been invited to play, but it never happens.
And typically, you're only playing on the weekends?
Yes, we were playing weeknights, even up to as last year. We played one night on Wednesday, which Scott came over, and that was it. And like I said, I'd rather keep it just, it's too busy, too much stuff going on. And the weekend's been less because, you know, the weekends are a premium in the summer. People have things to do, so, you know, we try to get together. And again, it's just basically tantamount to having a barbecue with a lot of people over. And I understand parking would be the concern, you know, be respectful to anybody, you know. I met, you know, the Harrises, they came over and they say, hey, you know, if you keep the noise down and the lights down, you know, after a certain reasonable hour, you know, but we do hit, I know, recognize a couple of neighbors here, we hit the ball into that gentleman's yard, which may be inconvenience. We try to get it as soon as possible because you can walk around. Obviously, we don't want to do anything that people don't want us to do. But I've never, no one's come up to me and said, hey, Kevin, can you, you know, please cut this out or stop this, or, you know. The letter was the first thing I've seen.
How many people would you typically have over at one time? I know it varies, but
Oh,
just
no,
on
it
average.
varies. For I'd say we probably have, it could be 15 people, 10 to 15 people. On a great day, maybe, you know, and throughout the course of the day, people will leave and then people will show up, like I said. So it's not like, there's no set time. People show up, and if they want to play a game, we have enough people, we'll play. But yeah, the pool is, I mean, there have been many people that play, but it's not an organized league by any means.
All right, how many times have you had this recreational wiffle ball where you've had people parking on the street? this year?
That's quite a few. My driveway is you can accommodate 9 cars, but I think people, and I stress that they should do that because I know, neighbors don't want people parking next in front of their yards. But if they're the first ones there, they'll elect to park on, they don't want to be trapped in a driveway, which I'll insist that happens, But people are on the street. In front of our house, we're trying not to. The gentleman has stakes up in front of his house, obviously, it's a sign that he doesn't want anyone parking, in front of his yard, which is fine. But right across the street is a wooded area, and with the sidewalk, there's no house there. I'm sure it's someone's property. I try people to park over there if they can. I don't want people, obviously, parking near people's driveways and stuff. But like I said, it's been frequent, people have been in the street.
So most of the time on the weekends, there's cars generally.
Yeah, you'll see them in front of my
Street
house.
parking.
Yep, absolutely.
I have a little concern because Whalen Road's pretty tight there. There's
Yeah,
not
I
much
drove
of a
by,
shoulder.
other
It's
people had
single
barbecues,
lane
yes,
each way. So is there any way you can control or try to control the parking? in
I would
the driveway?
like to keep this going, absolutely. I would request or insist. Even if they could, well, I'm not sure what the town says about parking on my lawn, but I have no problem with that as well, as long as it's my property. Like I said, I don't want to cause, any waves, in the community. But I understand that may be the one issue.
Wouldn't be adverse to a condition.
Oh, absolutely
to that
not.
effect.
Yeah, I don't want, that's fine, like I said. I importune, the board, whatever they, see fit for me to have this continue. And like I said, that's the one issue where I can see.
Have you received any complaints directly before you brought
no-
this application?
No, there is one, probably a complaint, maybe 2 years ago, the police came over to keep the noise down in the back. It was after wiffle ball, people were sitting there, and they had beers, obviously, some of my adult friends, and it may have been like a little late, 9:30, 10. The police came in and they're like, oh, wow, nice backyard, and just keep the noise down, and that was it. That was basically the one complaint that I know about.
How often do the wiffle balls go out of the yard?
We're getting, well, the gentleman at his house, they do. It's a short left field, and we try to put a little barrier, but they do. I think they're getting better. We weren't very good in the beginning. But they go out often. We run and collect them, as soon as we can.
Just a green monster there now.
No, it's just a wind, I'm not sure. I should have probably brought a picture of that, but yeah.
Okay. That's all the questions I have, Joe.
Yeah, is there any no parking signs along the road there?
No, not to my knowledge. I took pictures. There's nothing posted anywhere.
So anybody can park there at any time?
Yeah, but still, yeah, I guess they can, like,
Okay,
sure they
well,
can.
no,
Yeah,
I'm-
no, I think so.
I'm just
But,
inquiring,
yeah,
if
no, I
say you're
don't-
violating a no parking zone.
Yeah, I look to see,
You're
but
not.
still, yeah.
Yeah.
But there is considerable amount of road parking, but there's no signs.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
It says here that you have PVC piping and screen along with a windscreen to keep the plastic balls from leaving the yard. Is there a way you can expand that or do something so the balls don't go into the neighbors?
Yeah, I could do that. I don't want to make it look like a monstrosity, but absolutely, if it's aesthetically, I don't want to make it, but I can. But like I said, it isn't enough to keep the balls from going out. But if that was a complaint, I would have to consider modifying that along the fence, obviously.
And you mentioned something about the neighbor wanting the lights kept down, but I believe you said somewhere here that you didn't use the lights?
No, we have lights. They are up. They're still but we don't use them. We play on occasion at night, but like I said, it's out of respect, we want to wind it down before dusk if we can. The Harrises, they mentioned like they want to watch whatever the stars at night or whatever. That's fine. They mentioned just other light fixtures in the yard that would just kind of penetrate the trees and stuff. But yeah, we don't really play at night anymore.
Realize that the lights will have to face down?
Yeah, actually,
So it
I
doesn't
did not
go
know.
into
They
the
actually
neighbors?
face up, so yeah, I
No,
would know
they're
that. Yeah,
gonna need
okay.
to face down
Yeah.
if this is approved.
Okay.
And let's see. Is there always a barbecue when you have this?
Or pizza, we'll order food, basically. I feed them when they come over. But so we have one person that likes to grill. When he's not there, we say, all right, let's go get some pizza, or we order it.
And how large is your property?
I'm not 100% sure. The survey I think you have there is not,
100 by 200,
Oh,
just short of a half acre.
oh, okay, 100 by 20. Yes, okay, actually, no, I remember seeing
Okay,
that.
so little under a half acre?
Okay.
Okay.
Number of players per team?
No, we like to at least have 2 play so they can field, but, 4 or 5 is ideal, but
Right
we.
field out then?
What's that?
Right field out?
Right field's out, yeah, no, we used to,
That
no.
was in
yeah.
our age, Mike.
I just thought I'd ask.
Do these people, let me ask you another question. Do any of your neighbors come over to play?
No, I don't know if they'd be interested in, well, actually, not neighbors so much, but neighborhood kids finally stopped by, like I said, after 3 years, but they're down a few blocks, but no neighbors direct come over to play, no.
And are these people who do come, are they mostly Penfield people, or where are they from?
They're basically people from, work, some Penfield, some city, John, you know where everyone lives? Fairport area, yeah.
Is it mostly your age of a group of people, or is it kids coming over?
No,
to
the
play?
kids do, like, with my niece and nephew come over. If there's kids there, like, my friends will bring their kids, some 11, 12, they'll get on the field and they'll play, absolutely. It's not, we just let them do what they want to do.
Okay.
Mostly adults.
What's that? Mostly grown adults acting like kids,
Got
basically.
it.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Now, all these signs you have around the backyard, are they all, well, they're not, obviously not all fictitious, because there's Coca-Cola, but you just put these up yourself? I mean, you
Yeah, I
don't get
painted the
any-
Coca-Cola sign, it says 5 cents, like you would see in old ballparks. Harvey Bars, which is fictitious, I got that from League of Their Own. I sort of sign on there. My brother-in-law did donate a Toyota sign that he wasn't using, a promotional sign. He has I had a couple of them up. And just my friends who have businesses, just, for fun. They say, put this up, that's fine. They're not major businesses.
Probably should also mention, there is a stockade fence around the yard.
Yeah, it's it's all fenced in, originally when we moved in, that sort of
All
was.
you can see is the wood on the outside.
Yeah, on the outside, which I will be happy to take down, my brother constructed a ticket booth. It's just like a small red ticket booth, which I can light on fire if the council, I don't care. But, yeah, I don't, like I said, that's the one thing. And there's basically, what else? Yeah, the fence, if we didn't have all that stuff up, we'd still probably be compelled to play, basically, because it's in the shape of a ball field, and we'll at least play wiffle ball back there. But it just enhances the experience, basically.
That's it?
Members of the audience that wish to speak?
Yes.
Come on up.
Kevin, don't run too far off, just,
that's right. Answer.
well, but just stay close and,
Oh, okay.
and so you're not having to travel real far
Wait a
and, yeah.
You can sit in the
You can
front
sit,
row
but
or the
just
second row.
Don't go too far away, just.
I have a little presentation, if you don't mind. I can make I have copies for everybody, I believe.
Started, name and address, please.
Yes.
Okay.
You have an extra for the applicant also?
That's all I have right now.
Well, no, we've got, yeah, let's make sure he's got one too, so you can.
My name is Alan Wedman. My wife Judy. We live at 1057 Whalen Road, and this is immediately adjacent to the property. We share a property line. And one of the things I do want to bring up, because it'll come up later, is the fact that we are on the east side of the applicant, and I'll explain more about that later.
That would be the left side facing the property from the
Right,
street.
that's correct. Okay. If you look on page 1, you see basically what I just mentioned, our names, our address. Going on to page 2. Again, what I just went over, that we're immediately east of 1051 Whalen Road. We're next door neighbors sharing a common property line. And the reason I bring that up is because there's no 1053 and there's no 1055 Whalen Road. It's just, that's why we're immediately adjacent, even though there's numbers missing, between our addresses. It's our opinion, you can see on page 3, we're obviously not interested in having the wiffle ball league. Somebody brought up a moment ago here about have there been any complaints. If I knew a complaint would do some good, I would have complained 3 years ago. I would have complained 2 years ago. I would have complained 1 year ago. We've put up with a tremendous amount, and we don't want the league. We don't want the players. We don't want anything, period. Going on to the next page 4, The first thing, you already know that he's already been operating a private wiffle ball league for 3 years, whatever, without permission. They failed to obtain proper zoning. The wiffle ball games have been upsetting all the area neighbors, and you can tell, we got some over here. Wiffle ball games have been severely frustrating hundreds of motorists trying to drive down a very busy Whalen Road, and area property values have deteriorated or on the verge of deteriorating, and these are just the beginning. I'll go into more of these as we go on, so if you would just hold your questions just temporarily. Going on to number 5, what kind of neighbor is at 1051 Whalen Road? Again, this is just our personal opinion, but you can see we feel he has total disregard for the rights and concerns of neighbors. Neighbors want peaceful enjoyment of their own property but cannot get it. There's no common courtesy. He's inconsiderate of neighbors, inconsiderate of motorists. Actually, technically performs illegal activities and allows illegal activities. So again, I will explain more of these as I go on, so just bear with me. Page 6. This is the first of at least a dozen topics that I'd like to bring up as far as why this application should be rejected. Number 1 is parking. For one reason, there is no parking. There's not enough parking. When the town did a study of this, I have to correct their numbers. It is possible to have 30 to 40 cars parked along Whalen Road on a game day. Because if you remember, if you have 5 members to a team and 2 teams at a time, that's 10 people minimum. Plus, you have the team that's the 2 teams that are just finishing wiffle ball and the 2 teams that are coming on for the next game. So that's 4 teams at a time you have their minimum. Plus you have the owner, plus you have anybody else who's a member of this league, if they want to call it a league or not. So it is possible to have 30 to 40 cars at any particular time parked along Whalen Road. As you can see here, the cars park on private residential lawns without permission, and cars and people damage private residential lawns. I mean, you get these people that park on the grass, and then all of a sudden they're finished with the day, and they want to get in their car, and they want to get home as soon as possible, and they hit the gas pedal and peel out, and there you lose half your lawn because, the spinning tires have your grass flying in the air. Okay, my last thing on this page, for 600 to 700 feet, Whalen Road becomes an unprotected, unannounced, uncontrolled one-way road. The reason for that is because you have all types of people parking along Whalen Road. Some people think that it's better to park completely off Whalen Road, and that way their car won't get hit. But of course, it does more damage to the people who own the property, who own the lawns there. You have other people who park along Whalen Road who are just the opposite. They feel, well, I don't want to park on private property any more than I have to. So what they do is they have their right tires, for example, parking on the grass, and their left tires parking on Whalen Road. What this does is partially blocks the traffic lane. Well, if you have 2 cars opposite sides of Whalen Road doing the same thing, suddenly Whalen Road goes down to about a lane and a half wide. And every so often you hear the screeching of tires when somebody goes down Whalen Road and they suddenly realize, hey, it's no longer a 2-lane road, it's a 1.5 lane road, and I don't have enough room to get through. Big problem. I'm surprised we haven't had accidents. But when you have, if you do the math, if there's 40 cars and you can have maybe 4 or 5 of them park in his driveway, that means you got about 36 cars parking up and down Whalen Road. 36 cars divided by 2 is 18. In any 100-foot width of property, you can park maybe 3 cars. If you park 4, you block the driveway. So you divide that by the number of cars, 18, and you can see it comes up to 700 feet of Whalen Road. That suddenly becomes 1 lane. And the reason I say unprotected, unannounced, uncontrolled is because there's no signs, there's no cones, there's no police force out there directing traffic, there's absolutely no warning. Just like that, it's upon you, and you don't have any control of the situation, and absolutely no warning. So it's more serious than you think. It is very serious. One of the things that everybody here has been mentioning, including myself, is the fact trying to get out of your driveway and get on Whalen Road to get where you want to go. Literally, you're trapped in your house, because if you try to get out on Whalen Road, by the time you get far enough out onto Whalen Road to see if there's a car coming, you're hit. There's absolutely no advance warning. It's like tunnel vision. Think of looking through a tunnel. You can't see through the tunnel until you're right in front of the tunnel, and then it's too late. Bingo, you're nailed. And that's just one topic. Let's go on to the other 11. Number 2, yelling and clapping. This is not a quiet operation. There is constant yelling and clapping, promoting people, run around, hit bases, do a home run, whatever. It's constant yelling and clapping. And the thing is, they're yelling at the top of their voices. I can hear every single word that they're saying with all my windows closed and with my air conditioning on. It's that loud, believe me. When you get 20, 30 people in a backyard and they're all hollering and screaming at the same time, it is a mess. And like I have here, the third thing down, we can't take a nap, for example, during the afternoon, because even with the AC on, all the windows closed tight and a big fan on, you can still hear all of that yelling going on. And when I say yelling, I mean yelling. Do I make my point? It is yelling at the top of your lungs, believe me. Hopefully I made the point.
Didn't help.
Pardon?
It didn't help by yelling at us.
I didn't yell at you. I made a point. I was just trying to make a point, believe me. Page 8, days of wiffle ball operations. Now, admittedly, it's gone down, but this is the way it's been for the first and second of the 3 years. Usually Mondays and Tuesdays, there's no games. Wednesdays, last year and the year before, there was always a game on Wednesday night. Always a game on Wednesday night. This year, for some reason, it has slacked off, but coincidentally, there's been a complaint this year. So I find that very interesting. In the year there's a complaint, that's the year that the activity's gone down. Again, is it a coincidence or what? Thursdays and Fridays, sometimes games, sometimes not. It depends. Usually not, but sometimes. And again, I want to bring up 2 holidays. Holidays people are off, there's games. Continuing on, Saturdays, always a game. Again, not as many this year, I noticed that. But, last year and the year before, there were always, always, always games on Saturdays and sometimes on Sundays. Going on to page 9. Hours of wiffle ball operation. This is not a simple little, 1 hour game or whatever. Basically, when it's a Saturday or Sunday, for example, time to prepare the athletic field for use usually starts about 9:30 in the morning, grooming the field, placing the field, getting everything in order, and so forth and so on like that. That usually takes about until noon, 12:30, stuff like that, depending on what they have to do. Obviously, if it's a rain the night before, you got to groom the field more and things like that. Teams arrive and start practicing around noon till about 1 o'clock, and then teams play wiffle ball from 1 o'clock until 11:30 at night. Now, granted, the night situation has definitely gotten better this year, but last year especially, a lot of games went until 11:30 at night. And to continue on that, if you change over to page 10, you'll notice my comment about floodlights. It was brought up earlier. They are a real pain. I'll just go down this quickly. Even at this time of the year, it's dark before 9 o'clock, so obviously lights last year were on 9 to 11:30. There's at least 8 of them. I assume they appear to be halogen-type lights. So they're super bright. They light up the field as bright as day. They also light up the inside of our house as bright as day, if we want them or not. And obviously, the bottom thing there, we must put up with the super illumination, even though we don't want it in our house, for example, if we're trying to get some sleep earlier in the evening. Again, this is the way it was more last year. They've been a little more conservative this year. But you never know when things are going to change back to the way they were, especially last year. Going on to page 11. New this year, it's more of a minor inconvenience, but they added baseball stadium organ music, canned music. They have been keeping it reasonable, so it's more palatable than some of the other things that have been happening, the things that I, have been mentioning. What's the new thing for this year, for whatever that's worth? Going on to page 12. I mentioned earlier about what might be considered illegal activities. For one thing, Penfield, and correct me if I'm wrong, Penfield has a law against open fires, open flames, burn barrels, and such. No correction?
Recreational fires would be permitted with a permit.
For cooking though, right?
It's not
Preparing foods and
necessarily-
like that?
They have recreational fires for people that have sort of like a little camp out where, maybe the kids are sleeping over and,
Okay.
typically to do
Well,
s'mores
let me
and
just
marshmallows,
continue
that
just
type of thing.
to
Yeah.
give you, not so much this year again, but last year, about maybe once a month, they had after-dark bonfires. I call them bonfires, call them whatever you want. It was an open fire, whatever you want to call it. And this is what I mentioned earlier about noting that we're on the east side of their property. Winds typically blow west to east, and that means all the smoke from their fires goes directly into our house. And it's not just light smoke, it's enough to gag you. So the heavy smoke from the illegal bonfires goes directly into our house and fills the house with smoke, and it does it so much that the smoke actually settles down into the basement and completely smokes up the basement, so you can't go to the basement of our house to get away from the smoke. It clogs up the basement, it clogs up the first floor. We have a rancher. So there's no place that we can go in our house to clog it up. And of course, what I tried to do, as soon as I smelled the smoke, close the windows. Doesn't do any good. The smoke's already in the house. The smoke keeps on coming in the house even though the windows are closed. So again, it's not every weekend, but last year it was typically on average maybe about, once a month. And it was always after dark. Usually on Wednesday night, but, whatever. Okay, going on to page 13. The second thing, 2 or 3 illegal activities, of course, is the one we touched on earlier, everybody's aware of. Simply the fact that they have been operating an illegal private athletic field out of zone for the past 3 years. Number 9, well, page 14, number 9, illegal activities allowed. This is not on the property, but immediately adjacent to the property, almost on the property line. It's on our property, but very close to the property line, there is a fire hydrant. And the people who visit the house there tend to park very close to the fire hydrant. And so last year, a car was parking literally 3 to 4 inches away from the fire hydrant, which obviously is illegal. So one night I just decided, well, I'll call the sheriff and, bring the sheriff all over to try to correct the situation. Well, by the time the sheriff arrived, an hour and a half later, of course, the game was breaking up and the people were driving away, so nothing really became of it. So it just contributes to my feeling that, again, why I never complained 3 years ago and 2 years ago, that it seems like even though you complain, nothing happens, so why complain? Anyways, so the only thing I can do is on the bottom line there, it says, we must hope that no houses catch fire in the area because of people parking so close. So what I did this year to try to discourage it, I put a post out there in front of the fire hydrant to try to discourage it, and luckily people haven't been knocking down my post. But a year ago, I put up a reflector, one of those driveway reflectors with the red reflector on top, to discourage people from parking at the fire hydrant. And what did they do? They took their wiffle ball bat, and it landed about 20 feet down the road. Obviously broken pieces. So that's why I put a wooden post up this year, because last year they had no respect for my reflector that I put up. You know, I'm trying to get people from not parking in an illegal area. Okay, page 15. Property values suffer. The reason I have here, of course, property values suffer being near a wiffle ball park. Not everybody wants to be immediately adjacent to a wiffle ball park. Basically, who wants to live next to Frontier Field or Yankee Stadium? The whole idea is that if we wanted to live next to Frontier Field or Yankee Stadium, we would have purchased a house next to Frontier Field or Yankee Stadium. So because we bought in Penfield, where we thought was a conservative area, where there wouldn't be problems, then suddenly Frontier Field and Yankee Stadium moved to us. The thing is, with the wiffle ball games going on and everything, how can we schedule an open house? We don't know when the games are going to be. We don't want potential buyers to come when there's a major wiffle ball game, because they're not going to buy our house. Why would they? So if people aren't interested in buying your house, or you have to sell at an extremely low price, it causes the area property values to suffer. Okay, page 16, various other reasons. As I mentioned earlier, we're trapped in our own house. You know, it's hard for us to get on Whalen Road without getting hit because we can't see oncoming traffic because of all the cars lining the road and giving tunnel vision. Again, we can't have visitors over, because if we have more visitors over to our house, then we can put it in our driveway. Then where are they going to park? Because all the parking along Whalen Road is already taken up by next door with the wiffle ball games. So, you know, there's no place if you have, you know, a fairly large party coming over. We cannot see to pull out on Whalen Road. I just mentioned that. Wiffle balls land on our property. You know, we'll get 6, 8, 10 a day or something else like that. Again, the last thing, if we wanted to live next to Frontier Field or Yankee Stadium, we would have purchased a house there. The only thing I do want to bring up on page 17 is that if this wiffle ball league or wiffle ball non-league or whatever it's called, if you rule against them, rule in such a way that they can't bring it back under a different name. You know, they could create a Martha Stewart wiffle ball league or whatever and bring it back under that name, and because it's a different name, they might feel that they can get around any ruling that you might make. So just be careful how you do the wording on your ruling or whatever, so that if you don't want wiffle ball games to be there, that, you know, it doesn't have to be just this particular league, it has to be any league or whatever. And the last thing, page 18, is just a suggestion. It just seems so logical to me. You know, have the members of the wiffle ball league visit the head of the Penfield Recreation, you know, Department of Parks and Recreation, and it doesn't have to be Penfield, it could be Webster, Parrington, Brighton, whatever. Ask if there's any vacant lot or area in a park that's not being used or could be changed or altered or anything else like that. Obviously, Penfield has many parks, so does Parrington, Pittsford. Offer to make all improvements necessary to make a great wiffle ball athletic field at no cost to the town, so the town would not have to pay a penny. The league creates the wiffle ball field at their expense. Penfield declares the field to be used by reservation only, and then the wiffle ball league is given a permanent reservation for the field. So that way they can use it anytime they want to, and because of being in a park, there's plenty of parking, it's away from residential areas, there's no problem with traffic, congestion, or anything else like that. And that's my suggestion. Is there any questions?
Well, before we get to questions, I'd like to give Mr. Masters an opportunity to respond.
Gentlemen.
Well, I don't even know where to begin after that. I mean, that was an impressive, someone who didn't think complaining would get him anywhere. I never had the pleasure of meeting him. He never, ever came over and introduced himself. So any concern he may have could have probably been mitigated by just simply walking over to the house. I'm going to be very honest. I'm respectful, I'm, sorry he feels this way. But I'd be lying if I didn't say you didn't over-exaggerate this a little bit, if not a lot. There was never, one time, I'm not sure if with this presentation, is any pictures evident here of any 30 to 40 cars parked at one time in Wayland visiting my house. Any pictures of property damage for people peeling out on his lawn. A wiffle ball bat to reflector, that's concerning to me. I've never made aware of that, obviously, and it's juvenile. I wouldn't think anyone, one of my friends would do that. That's just, I have a fire pit you got from Home Depot. If it was illegal to sell, to do that, I didn't think they would sell those. Most likely, we did have the fires at night, because that's when you have fires. But it wasn't like Pompeii circumstances where burying someone, under ashes next door, to my knowledge. Again, if that was a concern or serious, I apologize. But none of this is made aware to me whatsoever. The Harrises, they live the south side of me. They expressed any concern they have. They came over, introduced themselves. Any requests they had, we respected. We would do the same for anyone who came over. But, like I said, I never met Alan. But I respect this presentation. The fire hydrant, yes, absolutely. People who park in front of the fire hydrant, they should be cited or ticketed, absolutely. Anyone of my friends who do that, that means it's illegal. I would hope the police would take care of that. And I apologize, no one was there, to answer further action on that. There's no carnage on Wayland Road in terms of accidents. I've never seen one in front of the house. I've never been aware it was dangerous getting out of their driveway. There are cars on both sides, he's absolutely right, but there's more than enough room. It was never reduced to one way. I will say again, the exception being that June 19th, when there was a TV truck in my driveway, absolutely. I could definitely sympathize with that. There were people walking back and forth, a lot of cars in the area. I'm not sure if anyone wants to speak on my behalf, but I know this, time's an issue here. I know you have to hear other things, but I can go over this and provide probably counter arguments just about everything here. I don't want to, if need be, I'll do that. If not, like I said, if he ever sells his house, we'll consider buying it, obviously, if it goes on the market for a higher value, because it's ridiculous. I would never want to put someone through that much anguish, especially when I've never heard a complaint personally from him or anybody to this extent. We're not unreasonable. We have a 2-year-old child, so I imagine, danger of cars, accidents, ashes, smoke, noise, she was 1 year old before 2 years old. She was 1 year old last year when all this was happening. We're not playing till 11:30 at night. I have a baby. Her room is right there. It's right near the patio. So what sense does it make to play from till 11:30 at night when you have a 1 year old who goes to sleep at 7, 8, 9, whatever, at the latest? I just wish he came to me and spoke to this. Obviously, it's not a league. We're not running it. There's not five, we can get 5 people out there at a time, but there's never 4 teams that ever show up, maybe on a blue moon, and that's it. So you saw pictures of my driveway. I could fit 9 cars in my driveway and one in my garage. So I don't understand where he says it's a 4 or 5 car driveway. You can fit 3 across and at least 3 deep. Yeah, I think you have pictures there. I don't know. Maybe I'm mistaken. If you can't judge, I don't know. Like I said, I do respect it, and I do apologize sincerely that we put him through this. But if nothing, I'm not tolerant or respectful of ordinances. I'm embarrassed, like I said, to have actually someone think about me that way, that I have illegal activities in my yard. The police came over actually for fireworks at night, which I agreed. I'm like, they came over, so I'm glad, because my wife's cousin came over and he was firecrackers late at night. I'm like, what are you doing? Police came, like I said, good. I would call the police myself on that. It's just, you have to have respect for your neighbors, and I apologize if anyone here thinks that that's not the case. Wiffle ball, if I threw it as hard as I cannot break a window. It's a plastic ball. It's not a baseball, and the only thing that he didn't exaggerate was the ball is going over to his yard, which I think is more than 6 and 8, a day, obviously. I like to give our guys more credit than that for hitting the ball over the fence. But again, I'm not making excuses, if he doesn't want us on a lawn, that's, something could be done. But again, I wish he just came over, anyone come over and just introduce themselves. First of all, 3.5 years, nothing, no complaints. So I don't know. I don't want to waste, time, more than people here. They have other hearings to do here. But if anyone wants to speak for me, that's fine. I don't know, but they don't have to.
About the music.
The music, yep, we have a speaker. I have speakers outside for music, again, respectful of the noise level, but we hooked up for fun twice. We've hooked up or 2 or 3 times. People came over. We have my friend sampled this songs, whatever, like little organ music. So someone gets up, beep, beep, beep. If it's too loud, obviously, I would have a problem with that. But it was during the day on a weekend. As far as I know, you can have a party over there and have music. You know, we're not having live bands. We're not having, you know, Woodstock back there, contrary to what it sounds like. I would be horrified. Listen, if this was all true, if I was sitting here listening to this myself. So, like I said, but again, I think this is grossly exaggerated. You know, obviously, I don't want a house to catch fire because, you know, the driveway, I had people parking in front of a fire hydrant. It's just ridiculous. Halogen lights we don't use. We did use more, and again, they were pointed up, and if that's, you know, a concern, they're gone. You know, I'm not, like I said, I'm not gonna, I didn't know. It was like the surface of the sun in the gentleman's house. If you just let me know, that would have stopped, absolutely. But
Can you just explain what kind of light you have up there? Is it one, is it multiple?
there's a
lights?
bank, you have them, they're connected, 500 watt each, like a bulb, well, 2 500 banks. So there would be, he is correct if he says 8. One bank has 2 halogen, like the yellow work lights that you put up. So it would be 500 watts, like 1,000 watts in 4 areas. So all concentrated in the field, but obviously if they're pointed up, they're going to go over the fence, which he's absolutely right. I'm sure, you know, it may go into his house, but we don't play anymore at night. We did more in the future, but not, again, as much as you think we did. Absolutely not. The numbers, we don't play every weekend till 11:30 at night. I'd say there was occasion we played close to that once, absolutely. But that's obviously, you know, I don't want to do that if it's going to inconvenience anyone. Again, it's probably not even the ordinance, you know, against the ordinance of Penfield. We try to be as respectful as possible to everybody. You know, like I said, it's just recreation. People come over. There's a fire once in a while, but that's in the fire pit, the ones you buy at Home Depot. Like I said, I wasn't aware that the smoke, was going into the basement, causing those conditions. I never heard anything like that in my life. So, again, I do respect his complaints. Like I said, I hope this could be resolved, but it doesn't sound like it's going to be, you know, to both our likings, apparently. I'm just more upset at the way he portrayed it than anything else.
Raven, you want to come back up?
I guess I have one question for him. Did you ever go over to his house? Did you ever meet him? Did you ever complain to him? Just a question.
No, I never did, simply because I didn't think it would do any good.
The reason why you didn't think it would do any good?
Basically, my natural pessimism, yeah, I'll be okay, my natural, you know,
Pessimism?
feelings about, pessimism about the situation, and, you know, having problems, not similar problems, but other problems with neighbors in the past or whatever, that, where we used to live or whatever, the neighbors would complain about different things, and, you know, didn't do any good, you know, to bring it to the authorities or anything like that, so.
I guess the question I have, you are aware that people can use their backyards sort of the way they want to. I mean, you can't have a league there, but you can play wiffle ball in your backyard. You can have fires in a fire pit. You can have people over and entertain, drink beer, yell, laugh, you know, within a reasonable amount of time. So how is this different from that?
Well, the parking situation, obviously, there's nowhere near enough parking. You know, he mentioned about putting 9 cars in his driveway. I don't think he can put 9 cars in there. For one thing, I don't think he can put his car in his garage, so he has to leave his car out, you know, which occupies a space there. And to put 9 cars in, you'd have to park diagonally or park crosswise or something like that. You know, he might be able to put 7 cars in there at the most or whatever.
Now, you talked about being a prisoner in your own house and how dangerous it is to pull out. That
Right.
You can't see till you get there. Are you aware of anybody that's actually been hit pulling out in that
Not
neighborhood?
personally, no, but I've heard the screeching of tires, so. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, we've had to make right-hand turns going out of our driveway, where than make the normal left-hand turn. In other words, take the long way around just to make sure that we didn't, have an accident.
You talked about, well, you actually demonstrated how your reflector got whacked with the wiffle ball. Did you actually see that happen? Or are you just assuming that that's what happened?
I didn't actually see it happen, but it was the one closest to the property line.
And you found it down the road a piece?
Yeah. Yeah, the whole reflector just flew right out. The post was the only thing remaining.
And how did you base your statement that property values suffer because of this?
Just simply because how many people really want to live next to, an organized league, or, if they want to call it that or not, if they don't do, or, no matter if you call it an organized league or not, there are just an awful lot of people over there occupying an awful lot of time and an awful lot of space, taking up parking, where there really isn't parking, making an awful lot of noise. And it's the type of thing that most people in that neighborhood, would not want to put up with.
I got the sense from listening to you that things have improved this year as opposed to the first 2 years.
Yeah,
Would that
again,
be a
I
fair
find
statement?
it interesting coincidence that it happens to be the year that somebody complains. I didn't complain, and I'd love to shake the hand of the person who complained, because if I, again, knew that complaining would do some good, I would have done it 3 years ago. But again, my pessimistic nature, or, that, the town would probably just ignore me, I didn't.
Could you see a situation where this would work to your satisfaction if we put restrictions on the ability to have wiffle ball games on this property?
I mean, there's no problem having wiffle ball games itself per se. It's just that the number of cars, the parking, the yelling, the screaming, the hollering, if there weren't the lights, if there weren't the fires going and smoking up our house, obviously that would be a big plus. But if the number of people were controlled, saying that there only could be, like X number of people over there, so that the parking situation wouldn't be as bad as it has been.
Go ahead.
Okay,
No, go
I just
ahead.
want to speak on that. You said on number 11, under various other reasons, we are trapped in our own house. We cannot have visitors over, no room to park along the road. Is that correct?
Right, yes.
Well, if you had a lot of visitors over, where would you have them park? Along the road?
Right.
So I guess I'm missing that. I mean, that's why I asked him, is there no parking along there? I mean, if your neighbor on the other side has people over and they parked along the road, it's still legal, correct? I mean, if you have people over and they park along the road, that's legal. If someone is destroying property or into the road in some way, I mean, you should call authorities, but I mean, you would have people park on the road, right? So I'm just reading your words.
Yeah, I mean, there's no signage there that says no parking. So technically, yes, there isn't parking available, but you get to a certain point where you have a certain number of cars, and it becomes a real inconvenience to the motorists. You have people trying to get off somebody's lawn and get into traffic, or somebody in traffic trying to park on somebody's lawn and stuff like that. So the more times that happens, the greater chance that you'll have an accident.
You said it's common to have 40 cars. Is that
30 to 40.
30 to 40 common? So is that like a?
I mean, again,
on
this year
average?
he's toned it down, not as many cars this year.
Okay, and how many this year? Average,
Average,
the typical weekend.
I don't know, what'd you say, 20? Yeah, somewhere around 20.
At once.
Yeah. Yeah, because you have to have two teams play at a time. And when you have the changeover from two teams playing, finishing their game, to two teams coming in for their next game, you got 4 teams there at that particular time.
What's the average duration of the activity? Not a game, but in other words, if he's playing wiffle ball there on a Saturday, typically, how long does it go?
How late?
How long totally? Start
Basically all day.
1 to 6?
Yeah, 1 to dusk.
So 9 o'clock,
Yeah.
straight through?
Yeah, sometimes they take a break to
Well,
eat,
yeah.
sometimes they don't. So it depends, it seems, it varies each day.
Okay.
But it seems to be as constant game playing as possible.
But this doesn't occur every Saturday and Sunday, or does it?
The first 2 years it did, yes.
Not, last year,
But
this year?
this year, again, he's been toning them back.
Okay. Carol or Roseanne? No? Okay, anybody else wish to speak? Sir?
I'm Art Risberger. I live at 1050 Whalen Road. And my only objection to this whole thing is the parking. And I'd like to give you a couple of photographs.
Are you on the same side of the road or across the road?
Across the street.
Across the street.
Now, this particular day, there were 22 cars out there. I counted them. And what you can't see in the one photograph taken straight across the street from me, there's one car, there was one farther down the road, and about an hour after I took the picture, one more parked in front of my house. Now, these parked cars make it extremely difficult to see out of my driveway. And several times, I've had relatives over that had to go out of their way to go home because they could not see to make a left-hand turn. And I also like to say that Whalen Road is a county road, so it gets a lot of use. Got tractor trailer trucks go down that road, and since I'm home almost all the time, there's emergency vehicles almost every day go down Whalen Road. Normally, there's, you don't know when they're gonna come down. But 40 cars, I can't say there were ever 40 cars, but I could say in that picture, there were 22. And it only takes one car parked near my driveway to make it impossible to see out.
I do note in looking at those that the picture is dated.
Yes,
And it's dated
that was the
June
19th.
June 19th, which is in fact, you can see the TV
But that
truck.
was, I would say the average amount of cars at any one time during these parties, especially last year, was probably about 15. I can't see all the way down the road. I just walked out in the street and I could see 4 cars on my side of the road. But how far they go down beyond that, I have no idea.
Is the driveway filled typically?
Pardon?
Is his driveway filled with cars as well as the street?
No. No, there's room to park several more cars in there.
Okay.
He actually said that some people parked in the street so they could get out when they were leaving.
I would believe that, yeah.
So how often is this occurring, in your opinion, this year?
Well, I was out of town for a week, so I don't know, but at least once a week. Last year, the same thing. The lights don't bother me because you can't see them when they were on last year. I knew they were on because I had to look out of the second floor window.
How about the noise?
Oh, I don't hear any. We don't open the windows because my house was built in 1851, which makes it real close to the road. And we normally don't open the windows on the street side, so I don't hear any noise. Every once in a while, if I'll go outside with a dog, you might hear a bat hitting a wiffle ball, but that's about it.
Go ahead, Joe.
I'm sorry.
That's all right.
If facing your house, the property to the right, he says that it's woods, is that true? In other
Yes.
words, where these cars are parked down, not the white one here,
Yes,
okay, not the white one, but the other ones, they're parked in front of a wooded area.
correct.
Okay.
Which is their property.
Okay. And do they have a house on it, or is it just a wooded area?
It's just, there's 6 acres of open land.
Okay. No, that's what I was asking. Thank you.
Is the problem that you see with the parking on both sides at the same time?
Yes,
Or- Yeah.
yes.
So if you were just parking on one side, it wouldn't be as much of a problem?
Well, it'd be a problem for the people on one side or the other. because the houses across the street are close together. So even if you park one car between the houses, there's going to be a problem of seeing.
As far as getting in and out of the driveways?
Correct.
Okay.
But if people on that road, if they have graduation parties or any other events that are, where you have a lot of people over, what do people typically do to park? Since it is the,
There's a house to the west of mine. They had a party this year, so they had cars up and down the road, but only on one side, and it was a one-time deal. So, something like that doesn't bother me. It's just a constant cars parked out there is a hassle.
Anybody else?
No.
No?
You can keep those pictures if you want them.
Thank you. Sir or madam, want to speak? No? You were next. Yeah, come on up, give us your name and address.
I'm Bob Maughan, my wife June. We live next to that open lot there. It wouldn't be bad if you just parked there, but then they come up into ours, and the wife just cannot get out of the driveway. They go on both sides of the drive, and you just can't get out. And she's forever telling me, put a turnaround. I says, why should I? Says, there's plenty of room to back out of that driveway. Well, when those cars are there, you're not going to make it. And I figure, Penfield's got a lot of stuff going. They got more than enough recreation areas. They ought to be able to find some place to put it, what they want.
Okay.
They're always picking up something going. But that's the main thing. The wife cannot get out of the driveway.
Sight distance, you just is affected.
Pardon?
Your visibility coming out into the road
Right.
is blocked.
It's
you
blocked.
have to back out.
And I don't have a turnaround there. We back out,
Gotcha.
And sometimes it's on both sides of the drive. It's bad enough on one, then you could make the wrong turn if you want to, go ahead and make a left. But when it's on both sides, you stick your nose out there and you're going to be in trouble. Because Wayland Road, I don't think they have it says 35, but I very seldom ever see anybody going 35, on how that is. And for years I've been there and never see them do anything, But I mean, with all the recreation areas that we have, they ought to be able to find a place to put a wiffle ball patch. The balls don't go that far, right? I mean, we put in a terrific dog park, that was a beaut, and then you still got a mess of room down there. They ought to find something there.
Okay.
Oh, that's all I can say. Thank you.
Behind you.
Well, I think we'll give you an opportunity to.
Good evening. We're Mark and Lynn Harris, and we live directly behind the Masters at 305 Valley Green Drive. We hear the sounds of the games, which mostly take place on weekends and holidays, and frankly, we enjoy the cheering. We enjoy the really positive sounds that are coming out of the games. We like the organ music. We've asked the Masters to have things quieted down by 11 o'clock, and they do. They've invited us to come over, watch the games, eat with them. We haven't done that, but we've been invited. We get wiffle balls that sometimes come over the fence, and when we find them, we throw them back. They don't do any damage. Just another one coming over.
And sometimes, we've given them permission to come around. You can come around the fence and pick. We have no problem with that.
There's never been any
In fact, I'm
damage.
going to sell them eventually.
Never been any
I'm going to
damage.
collect them.
Okay. Bottom line to the whole thing is we have no problem with the Masters continuing their summertime activities. So thank you.
Would you want to live next door to Yankee Stadium?
Probably like
Give me
it.
free tickets. Yeah.
Can we put people on the roof?
Yeah.
I have a question.
Yes.
Is this your home that has all the lilac bushes in the very back of the property?
Yes, we
Okay.
do.
Oh, and we would not be happy, however, if he put up an extra
A taller fence.
fence back there.
No.
We're fine with the way it is.
Yep. couple wiffle balls coming over is no problem.
So right field isn't a problem for you?
No.
No. And we do have our windows open in the summertime, and we do hear them back there, but they quiet down eventually. And we can't address the parking, obviously, because we're in the back. But as for the noise and everything, no problem.
How often does this occur in a week this year?
Only a couple of times this year.
And I agree, it is less this year than it has been,
Yeah.
but quite frankly, we don't pay much attention to
No.
it. So it's there, it sounds of summer, it's happy, it's,
Yeah.
you know.
Okay. Anybody else?
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else wish to speak? Mr. Masters, anything you want to add?
The neighbors, the gentleman that just spoke, actually both of them, they're correct. I think it was my idea, because we weren't parking on both sides. I saw the wooded lot, so I said, hey, you guys could park there. But apparently, they're overflowing. There were occasions I have seen cars on both sides of that gentleman's driveway, when he's speaking that he has no turnaround. So absolutely, I mean, if that's the concern. I have no problem, like I said, the driveways, I do park in the garage on occasion. Driveway is big enough to hold 8 or 9 cars, and there's on the side of the driveway, there's more space, lawn where I could park cars, on my lawn.
Actually, you can park on your front lawn, too.
Yeah, like I said, I don't want to make it a circus-like atmosphere. And at all times we tried playing half a dozen times this year since May 18th. The last one being last weekend. So they're right, it has toned down a lot. Like I said, it's not an every week thing. It's not on the weekdays anymore, except for that one time again. And that is true. That picture that he said, that's exactly what I was feared. That there was a TV truck, there was overflow parking, and people run, back and forth. So I could definitely respect people trying to get out of driveways, not necessarily wanting to make a left for fear of, a blind, the clear side of view, whatever. I can't argue those points at all, like I said. But I can address the parking. Again, this is not public people coming over, parking anything they want. I control who comes over, and I can tell them where to park or not come over at all.
That was the question I had.
Yeah.
You feel you can control the parking?
Yeah,
you've heard the
like I said,
neighbors.
it doesn't look the greatest having people park on the lawn, but I don't care, if they park on my lawn. It's my lawn, like I said, I would rather do that than park in front of people's houses or blocking the driveways, trapping people in, absolutely not. Yeah, but that's something I can control. And like I said, the lights absolutely too. Play to dusk, no night games. I have no problem with that. Who wants to play, 9 hours of the same game anyway, Like I said, you get tired, you're out there in the summer, We do take breaks, but it's very rarely we have always teams of 4 teams show up and play continuously, like he said. That 22, that's the maximum that you'll ever see there. I agree with, it could be from 10 to 15 cars there on a good weekend when people will all come over and said they're going to come over. And again, I can address that parking because I could put 7 or 8 cars in my driveway alone.
Are you planning on making Mr. Hutchko's birthday an annual function?
No, he's done. After this, I think, because this, what has caused me all this grief, I'm going to write him a strongly worded letter. But no, like I said, he enjoyed himself. But again, I think that's definitely, what precipitated this, the carnival-like atmosphere in front of the house, which nobody wants. Like I said, I know these people, they work, they want to enjoy quiet, conservative lifestyle in their yard, and they have every right to do that, as long as the neighbors at least trying to do their best to respect that, which I think, I try to do. And of course, if anyone came up to me, I'd do the same thing. I'd accommodate them, anything but confrontational. So, whatever, you guys decide, it's fine with me as well. So I'm not going to cause a fight or, write a blog or something about the town of Penfield, like whatever you guys decide to do, I'm going to respect that.
So you're saying no weeknights?
No week, like I said, and if that's the concern, I like to have people come over for a barbecue, maybe one weeknight after work. But again, now the daylight's getting shorter. You don't have time. I don't want to play at night, so the most you'll get maybe is 1 or 2 hours anyway. And you're not going to have 4 teams show up. You'll have maybe 8 people, which is you can easily fit that. If we do that. But again, I rather relegate it just to the weekends.
In what months exactly do you play this?
May, it started in May. May 18th, if that's a weekend. If that was a Saturday, it was the first time we played. May 18th, June 19th, July 7th, which is my daughter's birthday, the week after that. And we tried another time, it didn't work, and we played last weekend.
And then do you stop like in September, or do you keep going
Oh,
right
yeah,
through
if
the winter?
you want to enjoy the most you can, the weather, like I said, if it's a nice October day and it's fall baseball, like, I'm a Yankees fan, you think, you just want to, hey, you want to play on a Saturday? I'll call them up on a Friday and maybe we'll get something together Saturday. If it doesn't go into November. I think the latest we played was like the third week of October, like on a weekend. So, but again, everything comes down in the winter, obviously. There's no playing wiffle ball in the backyard. So, and I have no plans on now. I was thinking about flooding it for ice hockey. I'm absolutely not doing that right now after this. So, don't even worry about that.
No Zamboni?
No Zamboni, no skating, and there's nothing going to happen. So, but again, I appreciate the time. I apologize I ran this late, but I don't really have anything else to say. But thanks.
Okay. Anything else?
No.
Okay. Next, Harold. Thank you.
Application number 3, Kenneth Malcho, Malcho's 480 Plank Road LLC, requests a conditional use permit under Article 10-10-4 and Article 3-3-72 and Article 3-3-74 of the Code to allow the continuation of a gasoline service station, convenience retail store, takeout restaurant with 24-hour operation. The property is owned by Plank Empire Holdings LLC and is Zone LB. This is SBL number 093.19-1-46. This is application number 13Z-0023. Thank you.
Good evening. My name's Ken Melko. I lease the property at 480 Plank Road, known as Sully's Corner. It is currently allowed hours of operation from 6 a.m. to midnight. I would like to extend the operation so it be 24 hours. I've passed out a Google Maps aerial shot of the neighborhood and my location. In essence, I'm looking to extend 6 hours in the evening. I have 8 other locations around the community in which all but one, which I did not apply for, has been granted the same permission. The reasons for being open 24 hours from a business standpoint, it gives me the opportunity to clean and stock my store, which is a great time of night to do so. Very low traffic. We do have people at 4 or 5 in the morning start pickup coming in to the locations at that time, and on the weekends later in the evening, 1, 2 a.m. In general, the communities where I do business all around Rochester welcome it because it brings only positive things to the area. If you lived in an area and you had to get up early in the morning to go to school or work or come home working after a late shift, there's a place to stop. Get gas, use the bathroom, get a cup of coffee. It provides more eyes on the street for security. Vacant lots don't have people loitering in them. Let's see. I would have to say that the 24-hour operation is more common than it's not common. If my child is coming home, has a problem, I always tell them, look for the closest gas station. Go there for help, use the phone. It's just something which I don't find to be a negative impact on the community. And that's basically what I'm asking for.
Okay. A couple things. You didn't really address this, but you have to reapply for the conditional use permit to operate those 2 businesses?
Correct, because I took over the location. I need to apply for the additional.
Other than this hour of operations issue, are you making any changes, physical changes to the outside?
There's no physical changes to the property. I did discontinue the pizzeria inside the property.
Okay,
So we don't have that operation working there.
okay. But means of ingress and egress stay the same? Parking facilities?
Absolutely.
Signage, same?
Same. I'm going to be applying to change the signs, but just not square footage, just the name,
Right,
just for my business.
okay. And it's the same type of operation other than the pizza?
Exactly the same.
So the noise level would be the same as we've already approved?
Correct.
Site distance, buffering is same?
If you look at the Google Maps, the elevated, on the second page of it, we labeled the businesses around us, which, from my estimation, is very small percentage of residents. There are some, and I don't know, besides maybe the canopy lights being on from midnight till 6 in the morning, would be any type of inconvenience. And those residents, it is a lit street corner. It's not just all by itself. When we close, it doesn't go dark. You still have street lights. I agree that there are canopy lights, but besides that, I cannot foresee any negative impact on the community
Yeah.
for running a 24-hour
I mean, I
operation.
think the argument isn't whether there should be 24-hour stores. It's just whether there should be 24-hour stores in a limited business zone.
Correct.
I mean,
But when you look at this aerial shot, it's surrounded by businesses. I mean, there's a funeral home on one side of me. Hopefully I won't bother anybody there. Across the street, there's converted houses, which are businesses in them. They're all closed. If you were to be coming west on Empire Boulevard and going to 590 to get gasoline, there's nowhere to go. You have to go to Fast Track over on Blossom or back 3 miles to 5 Mile Line. There is no other place that I'm aware of where you can stop and get gasoline, coffee, on your way to work. And a lot of people go to work at that time of the morning. So that's, I guess, is what I'm asking for.
and I do have to ask you one other question. You said something about this would allow you to stock shelves and clean.
It's our
Can't you
quiet-
do that when it's closed?
Well, you can, but to be closed and paying manpower financially doesn't make, it's a burden. There's some profits going to be generated during those hours, which will offset that manpower. So therefore, from a business standpoint, it allows me to have productive use of time and not cost me any more money. I'm not going to generate, this isn't going to change my profit and loss statement to a point where it's going to be a windfall. This is closing at midnight, opening at 6, knowing that someone's going to show up at 5:30 to go in and start the coffee. That's always a problem, because dealing with the cashiers and the wage point that we're at, it's a very high turnover industry. So finding that person, instead of the alarm company calling me at 6 o'clock saying, no one, the store isn't open, now you have to scramble all people to get someone down there, open it up, you have people pulling in, upset. So it's just a better way to run this type of a business.
Okay.
How many employees do you have?
At that convenience store, 6. I would be increasing it to 8. So I'd be picking up 2 jobs.
And that at different shifts?
No, but 7 days a week, and there might be a part-timer, but there's going to be 2 people need to be hired. One person isn't going to work 7 nights.
So you usually have a couple people at a time manning the store?
No, until 7 o'clock at night, we have 2. And then from 7 or 8, depending on Friday or Saturday, till midnight, we have 1. And that person, when they close up, there's another person you have to rely on for security, and that person leaving the property, not having any issues with leaving a dark property type of thing. So.
Anybody else? No? Anybody in the audience want to speak? Ma'am?
Do you guys want to go first? I'm Kelly Vogt, and I live at 4 Rossman Drive. And a couple things. One, he actually hit the nail on the head. His Sunoco sign that lights up, and I believe it goes off at 11 during the week. Okay, well, it was 11 during the week. Shines right in my bay window. So it is going to be, if he stays open 24 hours, that's going to be in my window, in my living room. So if you're sitting there watching TV and you look out the window, that bright Sunoco sign that's on the blue awning is a direct shot. Now, 5 months out of the year, Jean's tree blocks it, so it's not as bad. But in the winter, when there's no leaves on the tree, or if her tree gets taken down, or if it falls down, it would then be, all 12 months out of the year, less light. So
Show us on
Could you
here.
show us?
Yeah, show us where you
Here,
live.
Can you,
On the
here's
aerial.
an aerial
I think I
map,
know,
and if you
but-
just point out where it is.
That's the corner I think we're talking
No idea.
about. It's not.
Somebody's
Uh,
gotta give me a
actually,
little directions.
Rossman is
Come
here,
over
I
here.
think.
See, this is the,
Here's
Somebody's gotta
Rossman.
give me a
This
little
is
direction.
Sunoco is right here.
this is the Sunoco right here, and the bank, yep, Sunoco.
That's on fire.
Here, hold it
Here's
like
Rossman
me.
right here. It says it. It's
Sunoco,
identical.
bank,
Okay,
Well,
so where's
Rossman loops
Plank?
around.
right there.
That's fine.
You're
Okay,
good.
so I live off of Rossman.
Here's Rossman,
Where?
right here, this street. It's
This one
identified.
right here?
This is
Yeah,
Rossman? Okay.
it's identified as Rossman.
Rossman loops around. Rossman
Yes,
starts,
Right
So
here.
we
starts
just pull it
north
off
of
them.
of
I
Plank
live
Road.
behind Hair Zoo, if that helps.
Right here,
anybody.
right here, Joe.
Okay.
So where's the Hair Zoo? Anybody know where that is?
Yep.
Up here.
So I live
Here.
right behind the Hair Zoo.
Go ahead.
Where's the Hair Zoo?
Where?
Number
Here's
what?
Rossman, here's.
So here's a should be here. So this must be her over here. No, I think she's here.
10,
You're on the north side of the road?
all the way up here. I'm right behind the Hair
You're
Zoo.
up on
But you're
top
on the
here.
north side of Rossman.
And the Sunoco station's here.
Here it is
If,
here. This
I
is
I
the
don't know.
Hair Zoo.
That's 12 right there. Oh,
Okay.
there's,
So,
So if that's the Hair Zoo, right there, then this,
this is your house?
that would be my house. If it is, if that's the Hair Zoo, that doesn't seem like that's the Hair Zoo to me, but if that's what it is.
Can you see your house on here? It's this one?
I do have a brown roof, so that might be my house.
So from here to there,
is there a
Yep.
hedgerow behind your house?
So this
There is a hedgerow between the Hair Zoo and mine.
Okay, so that's gotta be
So
it.
that's probably
And there are trees in the way.
And there are trees, well, Jean's tree, which is probably this house here, is right in the way. The problem is it sits up on the hill, and you would not think of it until you stand in my drive. And I actually have a really bad picture on my phone, but you can see where you can see the lights through there. But because it's up on the top of the hill, and just where the line of where that Sunoco is on the blue awning, if it was moved farther that way, it probably would not shine at my house. Or if it was on the front facing the road, it would not be. But where it sits, you can see it right,
Does
it's
it,
really hard to think of it, but if you stand in my yard, you can see it.
does it impact the sleeping areas?
It does not. It signs in the living room,
It's in the living room.
in my bay window. I have a huge 8-foot bay window, so it signs right in the window.
Okay.
Take that back.
And, just for security reasons, probably, I remember, and it might be off a couple years, 6 or 7 years ago, the Hair Zoo was robbed when the people were leaving, and it was like 9 o'clock at night. And that was robbed then, a couple years ago, as far as that is. So, you worry about people robbing if there's only one person there, increasing the traffic of that. And then there is actually a 7-Eleven. If you get on 590 where 590 is, and if you go towards Arundecoit, there is a 7-Eleven, kind of, not as far as Dan's Craft and things, but there is a 7-Eleven that way, where the 590s on and off ramp are.
Thank you. Well, I think this lady was next, sir. Hold on.
Hi, I
evening.
have to agree with Kelly that
Can
there
you
are
pull the microphone
stores
down a little bit closer?
between. Can you hear me?
Just pull it down.
Pull the microphone
pull it
down. There you
There you go.
That's it.
That's
There,
it.
I'm short. I also can't hear, that's why I was sitting up in front. I think that Tim Hortons is open for a cup of coffee.
Can you give your,
Talk to the
Talk
microphone.
to us.
You need,
What?
you need to
Oh,
talk.
okay. Okay, I shouldn't talk to you, I should talk to you.
can you give us your
Okay.
name, please? and
Well,
your
I
address?
think that there are other stores that are open at night. The problems that I hear mostly, well, first of all, I want to tell you that Mr. Melcher runs a very good business during the daytime. I think it's marvelous that cars can come in and cars can go out and nothing happens. You know, people just come and go, and it's mostly a family business, but he can't be there 24 hours a day. And I think your clientele in the middle of the night is going to be very different. I am glad that Kelly brought up the problem of crime. We're pretty close to the city, but there's nobody else is open. There's no other business that's open at that time of the night in our neighborhood. But there are quite a few houses. There's me, I'm kind of kitty corner. If you look on there's a big white house. I'm kind of kitty corner across Empire from Sully's Corners. And I've been there since Harry Brewer was there. So I'm pretty used to that corner. Also, there's going to be people living in the house directly across from Sully's. The other people moved out, it's being remodeled, and there will be people in there. There are people on Plank Road, right behind the station. The funeral home is pretty quiet. There's no problem there. But there are people there. The other problem the people have mentioned to me, people that live down Rossman Drive are not that far away, that they're not concerned about this too. Some people are concerned about crime, some people are concerned about noise. I'm wondering, I guess I want to talk to Mr. Malcho and you too, if the big trucks are going to be allowed to come in the middle of the night and bring in supplies, particularly bottled supplies, because when they come in, there's a lot of racket. I mean, the truck makes noise, and then when they get the bottles off, it's boom, 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 boom. And I can take my hearing aids out, but still, it's going to be noisy. Motorcycles are a problem. I realize he can't do anything about that. In the daytime, they come and they go. But when they come, they have to rev up their motor to start up again after they buy gas or a snack or whatever. But there is going to be more noise, there's going to be more traffic in the middle of the night, which is usually kind of a quiet time of day. And I guess that's what's concerning me, is the noise more than anything else. Is there a ordinance that says that you can't have big trucks come in before, is it 7 o'clock in the morning, or did I dream that up? Does anybody know about that? Because that's when they come.
Just to clarify, there are no deliveries in the middle of the night except for gasoline only.
Let me hear you say that again.
Nobody delivers in the middle of the night to the store.
Okay,
Just the gasoline trucks that have been coming for the last 5 years.
okay.
Okay?
But nobody else is.
Nobody else.
Well, I'm wondering if when you're open now in the middle of the.
No, they're not open.
No, you're open.
I know, but the suppliers are not open.
Oh, the suppliers are
They're not open.
not. Okay, so that's one concern.
Yes.
No.
Then who's going to run the place when you're not there?
I'm always there.
Well, I know you're always there, but you can't be there 24 hours.
Why don't you come on up
Gene, you
so
have to stay
that
with
we
the
can
mic.
hear what you
Yeah,
guys
we
are
have
talking about?
mics for a reason.
Come on up here with me.
Here you go.
Up here.
Hi.
Hi.
Nice to meet you. Nobody will be coming to deliver any product except for gasoline, because that's when they deliver it because of the traffic, between the hours of midnight and 6 a.m. And that's all we're asking for the additional. Nobody we don't accept deliveries from our vendors after 6 or 7 p.m.
Okay, I
So
appreciate that.
that won't happen,
Okay.
okay?
All right, we'll cross that one out then.
And we
That's
have,
good.
we have a state-of-the-art surveillance cameras inside and outside being installed for security. And my staff would be operating the store, in which I have 50 of.
How many people would be there?
Just one.
Ooh.
And there's only one now from 7 at night to midnight.
Really?
That's it.
Well, they run it very well. I'll have to give them credit.
Well, thank you.
Yes, because things are fine over there now, but I particularly was worried about the delivery trucks. Okay, that's
Don't worry.
good. Now, you're going to be stocking shelves
Inside,
inside the store?
cleaning shelves.
Cleaning
and-
shelves,
And
okay.
restocking, but no noise.
Okay, all
And
right. And you don't think you're going to encourage a lot more traffic?
Ken?
We don't need more traffic on that boulevard.
Can we,
No,
can you
no,
continue with?
no, no more traffic on Empire Boulevard, not even in the middle of the night.
the station's usually not a destination place. It's a convenience for the community as they're driving by.
Yeah,
People aren't gonna just get up out of bed in the middle of the night to come unless there's
No,
something
I-
they need.
yeah,
But It's not a
okay.
destination.
Except me.
no, and they're not gonna hang around there, you're not
And
gonna.
there's no loitering, so when a station, when a business is closed, sometimes you have loitering in the parking lot, which causes noise and problems. But with us being open, that's not going to happen, because we just call the police.
You're just gonna keep people coming and going.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, thank you. I'm very glad you're here today,
Yes, ma'am.
because
Can you
you can answer more of my questions than these folks
Can you
can.
continue with your questions, ma'am?
I think that was the two things that most people that I've talked to have mentioned. Crime, and you are saying that you have surveillance cameras?
Better than the bank.
What?
Better than the bank. They're
Okay.
Very good.
Yeah, and I know the bank is open all night. It's not open,
Right,
but
I
it's
understand.
lit up all night.
Very good surveillance.
Yeah, okay.
All right, can you give us your name and address now?
My name and address?
Yes,
I'm Jean Ofsanka, and I live at 1661 Empire Boulevard. Do you want me to show you on that cute little map? Okay. No.
We
No,
got,
it's
no,
all
no,
right.
we got,
Pointed out.
They don't.
They already pointed it out.
You probably live here.
I live right there, yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
And
We got that.
I'm in a single-family house, so there are people that live there, really. And the people that the acupuncturist that lives next door to me is planning on moving in to be a permanent tenant in his own house. So there are a couple people that are going to be wondering what's going on over there.
All right, thank
Yeah, but if you will take care of it as good as you're taking care of it in the daytime, I will sit down. Okay?
you very much.
thank you.
Thank you.
Gene, before
Thank
you
you.
go, Gene, over here, before you go, did you send me that nice note after the meeting last month?
Did I do what?
Send me the note after the
Yes, I
meeting?
did, because
thank you.
I thought you guys were wonderful. There was somebody that was talking that I thought you were so very, very patient with, that I had to write a note and tell you I thought so. And after that, I thought, well, if they're going to be that nice, I can get up and talk too.
I knew there was a reason that you came up.
Well, thank you for coming.
Yeah,
Appreciate it.
Yeah, well, I think it's a good thing that you do this job. Somebody's got to do it. Now I have a better feeling. Don't you have a better feeling about the whole thing? Barbara lives right behind me on Rossman Drive. So there are people that go all the way around Rossman Drive that have been talking about this, not just me.
Dean, I think we have somebody else that wants to speak, so.
Is there somebody else?
Yes.
You want to talk?
Thank you.
I thought you were here with the other people.
I was, actually. I had not planned on speaking here.
You're only allowed to
My
speak
name is
once
still-
or
My name is still Mark Harris, and I live at 305 Valley Green Drive in Penfield, which was nowhere near this business in question. But I'd like to just take a moment and give you a slightly different perspective, if I can. I work at Penfield Ambulance, medic, driver, whatever, and I work regular overnight shifts. And it isn't unusual for us to stop at Fast Track or Hess or those are the two big ones, which are 24-hour businesses. And I'd really just like to say something in favor of a well-lit, brightly lit, 24-hour business that's open, because very often it winds up being a refuge for assault victims, someplace where they can go until an ambulance can get there. So to me, a well-lit, well-run, safe, 24-hour business is really a safety island. And I just want to provide that comment. So thank you for listening.
Thank you. Anybody else wish to speak? Okay, thank you. Last application?
Application number 4, Larry Grossman, Grossman's Garden and Home, 1787 Fairport 9 Mile Point Road, Penfield, New York, 14526. Requests a conditional use permit under Article 3-3-36-K and Article 10-10-4 of the Code to allow a farmer's market at 1787 Fairport 9 Mile Point Road. The property is owned by Francis and Larry Grossman and is zoned RA-2. This is SBL number 125.01-1-33.1. This is application number 13Z-0029.
I'm Larry Grossman, Grossman's Garden and Home, 1801 Fairport 9 Mile Point Road. We want to resurrect Penfield's farmers market. We travel to a number of farmers markets during the week and on weekends personally, and always wondered why we didn't have ours, since it was located down in Home Depot parking lot. So we have requesting that we can do this at our place. In terms of harmony, well, agriculture fits agriculture, and the type of farmers that we're looking for are those that produce their own produce. And we've already been contacted by a number of farmers that are interested in participating. As far as the concerns with anything that's detrimental to adjacent properties, farmers market's going to be located on our property, in the center of the property. Ingress and egress is going to be through our parking, our driveway, so there's no concerns with getting out onto Route 250. We have plenty of parking, whether it's in our own parking lot or whether it's in adjacent fields that we mow and maintain. I don't see any current negative impact. The only thing I see is a positive impact to the community, for we don't have something in which Webster, Fairport, Pittsford, Brighton, Arundecoit, they all have, but we do not. We're going to manage the market ourselves. We have staff on board that will oversee and manage everything. So there's no cost or there's no labor expenditure from the town. We do want to make sure that people are aware that there's a farmer's market. And we've been working with Cornell Cooperative Extension's farmer's market specialist, Jamila Hesseler. She has advised us and has given us a lot of what it takes in order to put a market together, how to manage it, the bylaws and so forth. And in turn, she thought it would be important for us to let the public know that the market is going on. We'd like to have the market start on Sundays. That's our initial 9 to 1 o'clock in the morning or till 1 o'clock in the afternoon. And we want to put signs up at the top of our driveway, and then one on Route 250 and 441, and then another sign on Atlantic Avenue and Route 250. Just for the day, or just for that time period, take them down in the afternoon. Noise, no noise. It's just people selling produce. We're not looking for crafts. We're not looking for people that are making things. We're looking for growers. We're looking to basically enhance the culinary experience. There's no concerns with sight distance at the top of our driveway, but we all know that traffic is increasing on Route 250, but nobody's parking up on Route 250. It's all going to be parked on our property. Noxious odors, hopefully they're going to be great smelling odors. No exterior lights. We did say in our application that we were also looking for Thursday afternoon to the evening. We're going to start on Sundays. That's a very, it's a great time of day. It's a quiet morning. You either have people off to church and so forth. Traffic is quite low on Route 250. If this becomes popular and it's determined that the public would like to see us do this again, Thursday evenings was the second time that was suggested to us. I think that's all I have. I can field questions. I'm sure you might have some.
Could you explain, when you pull into your property, where the parking lot is, would you set the tents up, or would they even have tents?
They can bring their own, and the way our parking, the way I set up the nursery years ago was to remove the parking away from the road. We wanted it to be visually pleasing, and therefore the parking is in the center of the 20-acre parcel. So the tents will be located along the perimeter. Joe came out, we took a look. We want to make sure we separate out parking from pedestrians. And so therefore, anything that you're going to see is actually, the only way you're going to be able to see it would be if you drove into the nursery, into the parking lot.
So you would drive in, they would be on the perimeter or in the back area?
They'd be on the perimeter in the back, pretty much close to our house.
So you're not using any of the parking spots
No.
that you currently have to take up for the tent or the produce areas?
No, not at all. And we have enough paved, and we also have enough gravel area of which we can expand this. And we have plenty of grass fields that we use as overflow parking at different times of the year for different events.
How many vendors are you thinking of bringing into the farmer's market?
I think right now there's 12, and I would suspect it might go in upwards of 25.
And then what time in the morning would the vendors start to set up? Would they have to start coming in?
Probably 7:30, when our staff comes in, take care of plants. I know that when we attended the Fairport Farmers Market, we'd probably get there about an hour beforehand.
And then would you allow in, or would you consider food trucks or selling of food, or is it going to be strictly produce?
No, there's an entertainment factor that goes along with that. We already do bring in food trucks on weekends. It depends on what event we have coming on. We'll have a tomato festival at the end of this month, little plug. And yes, we will have food vendors probably there. So the trucks come in, we provide parking for them, we provide electricity for them, a dedicated area, and it's a great response. We get a great response from the public for it.
And then you mentioned signage at 250 and 441, Atlantic and 250, and then at the top of your road, right by your entrance?
Right. Just
Are they just A-frame signs?
Yeah, just a small A-frame sign saying Farmers Market, and then just an arrow.
So you'll put them up the morning of and then take them down after the event?
Right.
Okay.
I suspect that once the farmer's market takes off, it might not be as needed, but in order to make sure that we do the best that we can in order to support farmers and agriculture, I think that would be prudent for us to do that, along with our own marketing and the things that we do in-house, email newsletter, the radio show that Francis and I do on Wham on 1180 on Saturdays. Those types of things will help as well.
And then do you see any issues with the traffic? I know that you have ingress, egress, but you typically don't have maybe that concentrated of volume of cars coming in and out.
That's correct. That's what makes us really ideal. It's a slow time of day for us. We have staff that come in, of course. We get ready. Aside from spring traffic, this time of year, Sunday mornings is quiet times. So it's actually ideal to bring in a group of people that will help play off of what they're looking to purchase, and, purchase a few flowers too.
And then can you just review dates? When you would have this open, would it be seasonal, would it be year-round? What would you like to?
We're looking at
request?
both. We want to leave our options open. Obviously, seasonal is going to be, typical is late spring through October. But we are entertaining the thoughts of what would happen if we were to hold this indoors. We're talking with some of the folks at some of the other farmers markets, and Brighton is probably the closest that we can take a look at, that we could emulate. They're very organically oriented. They're very focused on products of which people are creating themselves or growing themselves. And they started to do some things with bringing them in the wintertime. So if there are farmers and there is a need for them to continue, and we can support that, and we can encourage that and help grow that, then we'll look to bring this inside.
So for your application, you'd like to request that it would be year-round?
Yes.
And then also for the application, I know you said Sundays and possibly Thursdays.
Yes,
Do you want to put as your request to have it on Thursdays as well?
absolutely.
Is there a time that you want me to set for Thursday evening?
It was recommended 3 to 7 o'clock. 3 o'clock in the afternoon is before the rush hour, 7 o'clock is after the rush hour.
Okay. And then the Sundays was 9 to 1?
That's correct.
Okay. I don't have any other questions.
Or Joe?
Great, thank you.
Anybody else wish to speak on this?
My name is Debbie Wickham, and I co-own Wickham Farms with my husband Bill. We're right next door to Grossman's home and garden. Sorry that Bill's not here. He usually presents in front of the board, and he's always very articulate, so you're stuck with me because he's stuck in Indiana. First of all, I'd like to, commend Larry and Grossman's support of the whole local movement. Being a farmer ourselves, this is extremely important to find outlets for our produce. We, as you know, grow and are growing food across the street, and you can't get any more local than Dublin and Sweets Corners. So I look forward for another outlet for our produce. Wonderful. You heard that, right?
Just her, though.
That's fine. That's fine. So, I think I'm going to keep this brief because of your patience, and I know you've got lots to process tonight. And we're very supportive. I only ask, as a local business owner, that you give consideration to the signage element of this proposal. And for the reason being that I just want to remind you of, and today they're not there, but I know they're going to go up real soon, the garish, large, neon-colored signs that Larry is allowed, and I respect this, is allowed to put in his building. Okay, I think that I ask you just to consider that as you go forward in supporting this proposal. All I'm looking for is continued, consistent observation of the type and amount of signage that this new use is permitted. I look forward to signing up for a table and supporting this effort because, as I said, you can't get any more local than across the street. And I thank you for your due diligence and your patience this evening.
Do you have a specific objection to the 3A frames he's proposing? I'm not quite sure I understand what.
Only
What
if
you're
I can
asking
do
us.
the same thing. I'm sorry. Seriously, I have no objection to that. I just have lived through the stretching of the signage that he's allowed to use because he lives in a glass building. I can't put an open flag at Wickham Farms. And I understand that. I've been told, I've read it. So I'm just asking for consistency and your due diligence as you consider this and what past precedent has been set by those large garish signs.
All right, thank you. Anybody else? No?
Just for the record, we can't do an open sign either, so we decided we would put up a US flag. And when the flag's up, we're open. When the flag's down, we're not open. We're not going to be making anything from this. This is a nonprofit support for the community. So in terms of the A-frame signs, this is all geared towards trying to help farmers sell more produce. Thank
How
you.
large are these A-frame signs?
24 by 30.
Probably 3 feet in height, 2 feet wide enough so it says Farmers Market. Farmers
Are they going to be
Market.
professionally done?
Of course.
Okay.
Just the plastic housing, right? The typical,
What's that?
The typical A-frames that you see, the plastic housing with the inserts on each side, is that what you're thinking?
Yeah, something similar. We
Okay.
typically make them ourselves, and then we sub out the Coroplast.
The graphic part.
And that's correct.
Yeah.
And have it professionally done.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Anything else? All right, that concludes the public hearing portion of our meeting. After about a 5-minute recess, we'll reconvene in the back and start discussing and making decisions. Thank you for your attention.